You're listening to Fight Knows About Everything, a Night Shift Radio original. For more information, visit nightshiftradio.com. We are back. It is Friday, April 9th, and we are going to recap the news of the week. First off, thank you everyone for waiting it out while I took a little break while I moved. I moved to a new place. As you can see, I have a brand new background. For those of you watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And for those of you listening on your podcast player of choice, thank you for waiting and subscribing. If you could, go ahead and leave a rating and review over on Apple Podcasts. I'd super appreciate it. Helps the podcast grow and get discovered by more people. So we are going to recap the news for this week. So the week, basically the first full week of April. The first thing that I want to do, however, is just say, hey, if you haven't signed up for the Night Shift Media Group newsletter, go ahead and do that. There is a link down below. Other than that, it's very simple. It is nsrad.io/mailing list. Very, very easy to figure out. So highly recommend you guys signing up. You'll get notified of brand new episodes of this show, of all of our podcasts, Left of the Dial, Superpod HeroCast, Left of the Dial Live. Never heard of it. Set Condition 1. I mean, just so many great podcasts, so many great things happening. And of course, this week you'll get a sneak preview of Show 17 for Humans, our brand new animated series coming soon. So with that being said, let's jump into the news of the week. So Earl Simmons, best known as the rapper DMX, is currently in a vegetative state on life support after suffering a massive heart attack last Friday. DMX was most known for his 90s hits Party Up and X Gon' Give It To Ya, which was most recently featured in the Deadpool films. DMX has had a decent career outside of music too. Outside of being a business entrepreneur, he actually acted in several films, 2 Jet Li films most specifically, one with the late Aaliyah in Romeo Must Die, and then co-starring with Lee in Cradle to the Grave. Many other musicians have come out in support of DMX, including Chance the Rapper, who actually stated that DMX once prayed over Chance and helped him rise to fame and kind of recollect himself. Very cool. We all hope DMX pulls through because literally no one else can fill the gap of yelling "what" in a song quite like him. But I just imagine that every thunderstorm we will hear, that yelling, that "what" from up above. So we're all praying for DMX and hoping that he pulls through on this, because this is wild. So Andrew Giuliani, the son of resident goblin Rudy Giuliani, has announced his potential running of government, governor of New York against Andrew Cuomo in 2022. Aside from being Rudy's son, his only political experience is being the super special assistant to Trump and the director of Office of Public Liaison in 2019. That's it. So he has maybe like a year worth of experience at best. Aside from that, Andrew is noted for his golfing ability. Very random. But apparently at 15, he toured the Pro-Am at the Buick Classic alongside Tiger Woods. He's gone on record as saying that he attempted to give Woods some pointers, and judging from Woods' recent DUI and accident and then past sexual transgressions, we shouldn't take any advice from a Giuliani. That just seems like a bad idea. Alex Jones. Yeah, the making the frogs gay. Alex Jones is making the rounds again, this time from allegedly stopping a child smuggling. This time it is not Matt Gaetz, though, so he didn't stop Matt Gaetz randomly. Recently released a video for Jones' series show him stopping a man loading children into an SUV. Now, I do have to point out that, of course, this was likely staged. There is no record of the arrest of the individual in question or on the video. Authorities weren't called at all, and this is just such a wild thing, and it's we do need to point out that Alex Jones not only got insane amounts of trouble and only just recently basically said that all of the people of Sandy Hook could sue Alex Jones into oblivion for basically saying that the Sandy Hook shooting tragedy was fake and that everyone was a crisis actor. And once again, we do need to go on record as saying that Alex Jones's attorney in several lawsuits has basically said that Alex Jones's show is performative. It is performative art. It is not considered truthful, and that no reasonable person would consider what he does as factual news. Now, here's the thing. There is a very long thing we could go into with this, but you may be like, well, that phrase sounds familiar. I seem to be hearing that a lot. You're right. You have, because weirdly enough, and coincidentally enough, I say coincidentally, but we all know it's not a coincidence, a lot of right-wing people have been using this defense. So specifically, Sidney Powell recently has a lawsuit against her for billions of dollars from Dominion, and in her statement, she basically said no reasonable person would take her stating that the election was rigged as fact. No reasonable person would accept that as fact. Tucker Carlson from Fox News has also alleged in lawsuits that no reasonable person would believe what Tucker Carlson says and accept it as fact. His show is performative and must be taken as entertainment only. Now, coincidence, these are all, right-wing people using the same thing, basically being like, well, no reasonable person would take me seriously, but we all know that reasonable people do, in fact, take this seriously. Now, they may be reasonable in a large scale of, in a way, like in most people. I mean, these are people that are your family, like these are your close family and friends, and you know that they have general common sense for the most part, let's say. But maybe this one thing is just feeding into that sort of need that they need to feel that, there is this greater thing at work and only these people or only they know the answers because they're the ones secretly in on it. And that's just because most people can't accept that things are changing and they need to move with the change. Change is an existential crisis for a lot of people, and this is just their way of being like, no change. I don't want to start saying they, them. I don't want, unisex bathrooms or, single-use bathrooms because blinders, I know this life, and I don't ever want to change. Change is necessary. Change is super important. And, I really hope that these people do this. And more specifically, I do hope that all of the people of Sandy Hook absolutely sue Alex Jones into oblivion, pure particles worth of oblivion, because he is a terrible human being. But yes, so moving on. So the trial of Derek Chauvin, the officer charged with murdering George Floyd, is still underway after a few delays and reshuffling of the jury. Many experts and witnesses have taken the stand to state that Chauvin is in fact responsible for the death of Floyd. Medical experts, several in fact, have attested to the fact that autopsy reports show Floyd died from asphyxiation due to Chauvin kneeling on his neck while restraining him. There are several doctors that go into this, and there are 2 medical reports that basically say this is the case. Witnesses have attested that Chauvin, after gaining control of Floyd and putting him in the vehicle, removed him again and then pinned him to the ground, which then led to his death. Now, for those of you that have been living in a bubble for the past year, the Floyd murder is what actually kickstarted the entire BLM movement again, the Black Lives Matter movement again, at the height of COVID in 2022. It was the sort of much debate. Well, only from a Republican side, as they're saying, like, that's not the right way to protest. So it was the source of much debate and literally hundreds of protests over all of 2022 across the country and some across the world. There were actually protests in places like New Zealand and England and Ireland. Very, very crazy. So during the protests, several other incidents of police brutality occurred. One very specifically in Buffalo, where a man was walking up to riot-geared troops, and they actually just knocked him straight over. He ended up bumping his head and receiving severe brain damage as a result of it. And of course, those officers were dismissed because why not? And I would love to go on and name all of the people, and more specifically the unarmed black individuals who were subject to police brutality, but I like to keep my show short, and the list is far too long because gross. Literally, this is ridiculous that this is still a thing. But anyways, so we have suffered a pandemic unlike we have seen in well over 100 years. Then the entire epidemic of police brutality, specifically police brutality against black citizens and unarmed black citizens at that. But we are still persisting, and I truly have a deep respect for those of you who have made it this far and are still mentally able to live your lives. I, on the other hand, am an absolute mess. I've now binge watched every anime on Crunchyroll, and I'm surviving mainly on gummy worms and Starbucks. So hopefully you guys are doing much better, because it's been a tough year for many reasons. So thank you very much for joining me, everyone, and welcome back. I very, very much appreciate it. Again, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube, or same thing over on your podcast player of choice. And for more information, please visit nightshiftradio.com. If you would like to follow me on social media, it's the Michael Michael fight. It has popped up at some point across this video. Of course, just the Michael fight. You can find me over on Twitter. So thanks a lot for joining me, everyone, and we will be back on Monday.